Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name's Noelle and I review and unbox subscription boxes here on my channel. And today, on the first day of the month, I have the last of the videos in our Bridgerton series. For the past few months, I have been covering the 2 volumes of the Bridgerton collection that were put out by Once Upon a Book Club in 2021 and 2022. And I'm just getting around to actually reading all of the books and sharing all of the contents of the boxes with you. Just as a heads up, the first volume is no longer available. However, you can get all of the books because they did really beautiful editions that they worked with Julia Quinn, the author, to create, and they look very lovely all lined up together, and they're different pastels. So if you want the 4 books from the first box, again, you can't get the gifts that go along with it. It's $120. That is available in their online shop in the Bridgerton collection. You can also get the second 4 books for $120. There's a few books that you can buy individually, but I feel like if you're going to go ahead and do that, you might as well get all of them. So yes, it would be $240 to buy the whole series, but they are really, really lovely, and I think they would look great on any shelf if you do really love the Bridgertons and the writing of these novels. The full volume 2 is still available with the gifts. Now in volume 2, again, there were 4 books in each of the boxes. In volume 2, each of the books gets 2 gifts, so there are 8 gifts in total, and that is available still online for $195. You can watch my last unboxing in this series to see what some of the gifts were. If you want to be surprised, you can definitely still be surprised. If you are not familiar with Once Upon a Book Club, they have a monthly book subscription, and now they have offerings for adult, young adult, as well as middle graders. And of course, I do have lots of those unboxings on my book playlist, and I also have a coupon code for you where you can save 10% on your purchases there. It is simply Noelle10, but I will leave all of that for you in the description box below. Some of the other features of Once Upon a Book Club boxes, aside from the lovely editions, as well as often a bookmark, I think I still have my Bridgerton bookmark here, is we always get a quote card. What was really nice about this one is that we have the beautiful bookmark, but it was also signed by Julia Quinn this time around. And in the first box, I believe the first book, The Duke and I, was also signed by Julia Quinn. And this one, we still kind of have a little bit of Lady Whistledown, but of course, Lady Whistledown, we find out who she is in the first volume, in the first 4 books, so we don't hear much from Lady Whistledown anymore in the last ones. But I did think that was a nice touch. We also have our quote card. I believe this is from Eloise's story. And she wasn't the sort to tolerate an unhappy life. She would simply have to make certain hers was anything but. And we have that nice cameo. We also, of course, have our guide from Once Upon a Book Club. This one just showcases the 4 books in volume 2. This also had a little quiz on the Bridgerton siblings, which it is tricky because even though they are nicely named alphabetically in the order of their birth, they do not necessarily have their love stories and their romances and their marriages in order because, of course, the girls are always married off sooner. So for example, in books 7 and 8, we get Hyacinth, the youngest, first before Gregory, because it's much more acceptable for Gregory to still be single, even though Hyacinth is starting to, you know, be off the shelf or whatever they used to say. And then, of course, we just have like a little worksheet on the back to compare and contrast the show. But it's a lot harder, obviously, with the second volume because we haven't heard the stories of these children yet. We have so far only had Anthony's story and Daphne's story, and then now we're going to get Colin and Penelope's story next. So we also have How to Have a Bridgerton Tea Party. So, all right, so let's go ahead and get into our book. So what I will do is I will read the passages and then I will share the gifts with you. And again, if you want to go back and watch the series, I think this will be the 5th video because we did 3 videos for the first box. I would definitely appreciate that support. So the first one we have is It's in His Kiss. So we just have a nice little illustration. It's hard because I always, especially with the first books, I definitely imagined the characters created for us for the online series. I would give the world to have one more person for whom I would lay down my life. So again, this is the story of Hyacinth, the youngest. I really do like Hyacinth, I have decided quite a bit. I don't have like a summary for you. Unfortunately, there's not like a blurb with these editions, but like I said, I will show you the gifts. So we didn't get a gift until page 290. Let me see that, which is quite a ways into the book. You can kind of see it's all the way here. This is what the little sticky notes look like. But let me see if I can, first of all, remember what our gift is so that I can find the right one. And of course, Violet, also a floral name, is then the mother of all 8 of these children, and their father passed away before Hyacinth was even born. So let's see, of course, oh, so her love interest is Gareth, and she is pretending that she's not as smitten as she is. I see, Violet murmured. Hyacinth stabbed her needle into the fabric with perhaps a touch more vigor than was necessary, then looked down at her handiwork with a bit of a snarl. She was an abysmal needlewoman. She'd never had the patience or the eye for detail that it required, but she always kept an embroidery hoop going in the drawing room. One never knew when one would need it to provide an acceptable distraction from conversation. The ruse had worked quite well for years, but now that Hyacinth was the only Bridgerton daughter living at home, tea time often consisted of just her and her mother, and unfortunately, the needlework that kept her so neatly out of 3- and 4-way conversations didn't seem to do the trick so well with only 2. Is anything amiss? Violet asked. Of course not. Hyacinth didn't want to look up, but avoiding eye contact would surely make her mother suspicious. So she set her needle down and lifted her chin. In for a penny, in for a pound, she decided. If she was going to lie, she might as well make it convincing. He's merely busy, that is all. I rather admire him for it. You wouldn't wish for me to marry a wastrel, would you? Uh-huh, sure. Violet knows better. After marrying off 6 children before you, Hyacinth, I think she knows what she's doing. It's like her one aim in life to make sure all of her children happily marry for love, which is pretty amazing feat back in the Regency era, right? So I thought this was a cute gift that we got. Of course, we have an embroidery hoop so that you can avoid conversation. It also came with a needle threader and needle. We really did get like the full kit. So it is an embroidery kit from Once Upon a Book Club, and it actually has, you're supposed to write some script on there. It says, "Thou shalt not talk to rakes," because some of the men are obviously described as rakes. And then, of course, we have a little information about the stitches to use, getting started. They did give us a fabric, which is nice, that does have the design. It's pretty thick, so it's going to take a lot of stitches, for example. I might just do the floral work around the outside and leave that printed in the center, because I don't think I could do a good job like going over it neatly, just because it is kind of thick, but you could go a little bit thicker with your stitches. And they gave us a really nice color palette. I think this is really lovely with the cream, the dark green, kind of a rose, a gold, and a black. So that would be for the script, but I think that those 4 other very neutral colors would be lovely. It's a little bit difficult to read your book while you're doing embroidery, but you could certainly be doing your embroidery while watching the next Bridgerton series. I think that would be fun. So I thought that was actually a really cute gift. And then our next one came not all the way until page 375, and it's kind of rattling around in there, which is a little bit interesting, right? So let's see, 375. Let me see if I can find this one. 375. Oh my. So this might be, okay. So Isabella is actually the daughter, I believe. Yes, Isabella is the daughter. I had to try to remember. So there have been some jewels that have been misplaced, essentially, hiding in this household for years and years, and they've been trying to find them forever and ever. So at last, someone finds them, but it is not the woman who's been looking for them for years. Says, "Is this your translation here on the table?" came her mother's voice. Yes, it's from Galileo. The original is right next to it." "Oh," her mother paused. Her voice sounded funny. "Why did you—" "Never mind." Isabella looked frantically at the jewels. She had only a moment to decide. "Isabella," her mother called, "did you remember to do your sums this morning? You're starting dance lessons this afternoon. Did you recall?" "Dancing lessons?" Isabella's face twisted, rather as if she'd swallowed lye. "Monsieur Larouche will be here for you, too, promptly, so you will need—" Isabella stared at the diamonds, hard, so hard that her peripheral vision slipped away, and the noise around her faded into nothing. Gone were the sounds of the street floating through the open window. Gone was her mother's voice, droning on about dancing lessons and the importance of punctuality. Gone was everything but the blood rushing past her ears and the quick, uneven sound of her own breath. Isabella looked down at the diamonds, and then she smiled and put them back. So she put them down, but basically she is kind of looking around. She feels something, and she says, "Oh my!" Isabella quickly swallowed her shriek. A veritable pool of diamonds had showered into her hand. It was a necklace and a bracelet, and while she did not think of herself as the sort of girl who lost her mind over baubles and clothes, oh my God, these were the most beautiful things she had ever seen. So she finds the jewels that Hyacinth has been looking for so long, because basically Gareth's mother hid them. So this is what they look like. We got some fun costume jewelry in this lovely, lovely box. I mean, it is very sparkly. It's very silly. I don't know that I would wear any of it. I mean, maybe the earrings, honestly, might look nice with an evening gown. The necklace is just a little crazy, but I was sort of, I thought this was a decent interpretation. It's not like a super high value, but very cute. They're elegant enough that you could wear them and nobody's gonna think they're real, but you know, if you have a prom coming up, I don't know. I thought they weren't bad, but they did have a little card in here that says Isabella and Company luxury jewelry. So Isabella looked down at the diamonds and then she smiled and then put them back. So don't worry, in one of the epilogues, they are finally found, but I love that she allows her mother, who's been looking for them, to find them, which she didn't realize her mother was looking for them at first. She just decided to hide them and kind of keep them her own secret for a little while. All right, our final book, which finally gets Gregory married off, and Hyacinth and Gregory are very close to one another, is On the Way to the Wedding. On the Way to the Wedding. So, yes, he, of course, we have a similar thing happen where he thinks he's in love with this other girl, but of course it's the one, her friend, that he truly falls in love with eventually. That's not like a big spoiler. We had two gifts in this one. We had one that came in a bag for page 97, so a little bit earlier. And then we have this one, which came in this lovely box. So as you can see, the packaging, very, very pretty. All right, so let's find page 97. And we do have this nice little like photo and bio of Julia Quinn on the interior there. She has done well for herself, for sure. Let's see, page 97. Okay. Let's see. Let me see if I can remember. So, of course, Lucy is going to be the love interest for our dear Gregory, but it is Hermione, her friend, that he thinks he is in love with at first, because she is just so, so beautiful. Let's see. Hermione rushed to her side, concern knitting her brow. "Oh dear," she said, supporting Lucy with an arm around her back. "You look ghastly." Lucy blinked. Maybe she was taking ill. Even better. That would keep her sequestered for days. She's trying to avoid Gregory. "I'm returning you to bed," Hermione said, her tone brooking no argument, "and then I will summon Mother. She will know what to do." Lucy nodded with relief. Lady Watson's remedy for any sort of ailment was chocolate and biscuits. Unorthodox, to be sure, but as it was what Hermione's mother chose whenever she claimed to be ill, she couldn't very well deny it to anyone else. Hermione guided her back to their bedchamber, even going so far as to remove Lucy's slippers for her before she lay atop the bed. "If I didn't know you so well," Hermione said, tossing the slippers carelessly into the armoire, "I would think you were faking." "I would never." "Oh, you would," Hermione said. "You absolutely would, but you could never carry it off. You're far too traditional." "Traditional? What had that to do with anything?" Hermione let out a little huff of air. "I'm probably going to have to sit with that wearisome Mr. Bridgerton at breakfast now." "He's not so dreadful," Lucy said, with perhaps a bit more verve than one might expect from someone with a belly full of bad salmon. So she's saying she has a bad stomachache. So from that passage, of course, you guys, we got some slippers, which I was like, I wonder how they decided to do this, because slippers are a size thing. Of course, because everything from Once Upon a Book Club is pink. They're pink with puffies on them. So they actually look a little bit small. It says, they're embroidered, and it says, "Shh, dearest readers. I'm reading Does it say, "Dearest readers, I'm reading"? So in the voice of Lady Whistledown with little feathery puffs on them. They are very cushiony. They do have a rubbery sole to them. It just says medium, so I guess they just went with medium, but like I have kind of big feet. I don't know that these would work. And if you had really small feet or really big feet, I feel like you'd be very disappointed with this as a gift. But I'm thinking they'll probably work for sizes, I would say 7 to 9, but those look like they might be a little short for me. Like no, I would say 7 to 9 maybe. They're very cushy. They're not my style at all. They're probably the style that one of the girls in this would wear. I don't think that they necessarily needed to do the embroidery, and that might actually feel a little weird on your foot if you have sensitive feet, but kind of a silly little gift, I thought. All right, we have one final gift, you guys, to close out our Bridgerton series from Once Upon a Book Club, and it came on page 327. Let's see if I can remember what it was. I don't know that I do. Let me see. Open it up. Ah, okay. So she is betrothed to Lord Hasselby, who it turns out is not going to be the ideal husband. And of course, Gregory is trying to, stop her from marrying him because they have realized that they love one another. She took a breath, squared her shoulders. "I am marrying Lord Hasselby tomorrow." "No," he said, "you're not." Her lips parted. He reached out and captured her hand in his. She did not pull away. "Lucy," he whispered. She closed her eyes. "Be with me," he said. Slowly, she shook her head. "Please don't." He tugged her closer and pulled the candlestick from her slackening fingers. "Be with me, Lucy Abernathy. Be my love. Be my wife." She opened her eyes, but she held his gaze for only a moment before twisting away. "You're making it so much worse," she whispered. The pain in her voice was unbearable. "Lucy," he said, touching her cheek, "let me help you." She shook her head, but she paused as her cheek settled into his palm. Not for long, barely a second, but he felt it. "You can't marry him," he said, tilting his face towards hers. "You won't be happy." So she is letting him think that she's going to run away with him, but not so much. But he basically startles her, and she thinks that he is an intruder, and she grabs a candlestick to attack him. So that is where this gift came from. So it says, we even have the quote to tell us. So here's an image of the candlestick that was in this box. Image of the candlestick that says, again, he tugged her closer and pulled the candlestick from her slackening finger. "Be with me, Lucy Abernathy. Be my love. Be my wife." You could use it as a little bookmark. So I was like, maybe we'll get a candlestick, like a nice gold hard candlestick that she was going to use as a weapon. But no, we did not. We did not get a candle. We did not get a candlestick. We got a candle wick trimming kit, which I actually think is lovely. I now have quite a few of these from various boxes. However, I do think this is a nice gift. It was an interesting interpretation, though, I thought, just because they could have given us a nice set of like brass candlesticks, and that would have seemed to have worked a little bit better. But I guess they were thinking, let's be functional. So, of course, we have this nice wick trimmer in gold. We have this nice little snuffer, which is also a good way to take care of your candles. And then we have this little sort of pick so that you can kind of move the wick around, when the wick starts to kind of slant to one side and then it's not melting and it's sort of tunneling in weird directions. So I did like that we got this whole candle set. It has a little like imprint of a like vine there on it. It was a good gift. It was definitely a good gift, but it was, to me, a little bit unexpected for that particular passage, because I thought that a better option would have been, of course, an actual candlestick. So again, just going over everything that we got. For Hyacinth's story, it's in his kiss. We got some fun fashion jewelry as our second gift. Maybe I'll use the earrings. I'm not upset about that. My favorite gift in this set of 4 gifts for the 2 books, the 2 final books, was the embroidery kit, which I thought was cute and nice to have like a little DIY thing that you can kind of use as your memento from the Bridgerton collection, even though I don't know that that is the quote that I would have chosen to go in there. The slippers, I mean, some people will be happy to have some house slippers, but just because of the sizing issues, that wouldn't have been one of my first choices. My favorite gift for the final book, though, was the candle trimming kit. However, again, I do think that there could have been a better interpretation of that passage if you wanted to do the candlestick. So a mixed bag for our final two books, but overall a nice collection. And again, the gifts, you guys, are not necessarily super high value. They're just ways to sort of augment your reading to make it a more enjoyable, immersive experience. And that's what Once Upon Book Club is all about, and that's why I like it. And even though romances aren't usually my thing, I did think it was fun to be a part of this Bridgerton series and to see what went into their efforts. And I think they did a really good job overall, even though the gifts aren't necessarily a lot of things that I will personally use, and even though I think there might have been a few better choices. But you guys let me know in the comments below if you love Bridgerton, what your favorite book is, what your favorite gift was, and I would totally appreciate a thumbs up if you have a chance, and I'll see you soon in my next unboxing.